It's official! Welcome to Friday Night Feel! every time. It's been over a year, everyone. And I still just say a little prayer that it's actually going to work because I have had some unpleasant experiences. So, welcome to Friday Night Feels. I am Patrick Monette, licensed mental health counselor. And I created Friday Night Feels last March, actually, when everything was going down in the world. And, I didn't really have any expectations when I started this show. And now it's turned into a podcast. It's a part of the YouTube channel that I have. And it gives me the most amazing experiences to connect with incredible people from around the world and hear their stories, their businesses, their adventures, their stories of resilience and hope. And so tonight I have an amazing gentleman who's going to be joining, who fits right into that category. Mr. Joseph Reid is joining us tonight, and he has had a passion for all of his life for loving and helping people from a very early age. He has a bachelor's degree from Liberty University in interdisciplinary studies, and he's the founder and executive director of Broken People, an international mental health support group. He's also very active as a peer support specialist and family advocate with NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, the nation's largest grassroots mental health non-for-profit organization. He's extremely passionate about following God's direction, loving and serving with his wife, Melissa, of 24 years, and trying to keep up with his 4 amazing grown children. He's also the author of the currently Amazon bestseller, Broken Like Me, and oversees several other brilliant writers on his writer's blog that can be found at www.broken-people.org. So welcome, Joe, to Friday Night Feels.
And I'm feeling it. What's
Yeah!
up, Patrick? How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Yeah.
I know you just like get an excitement, so you just like let the spirit move you.
Exactly. Just moved by the spirit. Hallelujah.
Now, you also have a special guest you were just telling me about that travels with you during the podcast
Yes,
adventures.
and he's really typically the star of most of the podcasts. Although he has very little to say. Here, I'll introduce you all to Sloppy. Say hi,
Hi,
Sloppy.
Sloppy.
He's my emotional support reindeer. So yeah.
Right, and if you are listening to the podcast version, it's a beautiful reindeer, stuffed reindeer with him, but alive
Yes.
and well.
Yes. Yes.
Well, that is amazing.
And he will remain fairly silent through the whole podcast.
But the presence will be known. I mean, that's all. Strong silent types are powerful.
Yes. Sloppy is listening.
So I'm so excited to, you and I were talking briefly, and the different directions we could go. But I just kind of want to see a little bit of like what your story is of how you came, this life of service of helping people, especially, an issue that's dear to my heart of the mental health field. So how did you arrive doing the work that you're doing and inspiring the people that you're working with?
I kind of think my first thought, kind of growing up in a very legalistic church background, is like if you don't help people, you're going to hell. It's kind
Okay.
of like how I grew up, and
Right.
it was like this sense of guilt kind of leading me to like have to do things to help people, and I don't think I really cared that much. But then something clicked in me as I got older, and I just genuinely started loving people and caring about people that were struggling all around me, or as empaths sometimes do, we make up stories about people struggling, even though they may not be. Like we like I literally think I know what everybody is feeling around me, and probably 90% of the time I'm wrong, but I
Mhm.
still feel for that.
Yeah, it comes from a place
I
of
still
compassion.
have all of those feelings of compassion, and yeah, and I just know how much it sucks to go to bed lying awake and crying all night, or just feeling like complete, you know, just broken person, that I just don't want anybody else to feel that way. And it really breaks my heart that anybody out there might be feeling that way.
Right. So you've had your own experiences with struggles with mental health, it sounds like.
Yeah, I've been hospitalized 3 separate times for a period of 5 weeks. And one of the times I highlight early on in my book where it was just a very traumatic experience where a lot of violence happened in the hospital
Oh
and
gosh.
a lot of sex happened in the hospital. It was a really messy situation back in the early 2000s where they were just trying to, when they were just trying to drug people that had a mental disability. We've come a long ways though.
Hmm. Yeah, I've worked with a lot of people who have experienced that, in the older days, let's say. Even though 2000 doesn't seem that long ago, but it really is decades and decades. But how, they went for help, and the help became more trauma for them,
Wow. Well
unfortunately.
said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird how many people will actually go into a mental hospital and try to hook up. It's like
Oh.
it's not the place where you want to find a relationship. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that could be a whole other conversation. That unhealthy ways to find attention or connection. But I think, when people are in
Absolutely.
pain, you get to that point of desperation, right? And you're not thinking rationally or healthy.
Yep. Yep. And what better way to connect with people when you're being vulnerable? Like that just opens up a whole floodgate of deeper connection that I think makes it more attractive uh, to be around certain people, and that really does make it, open up that door for more relationships. So it really is up to the leadership of the hospital to kind of nip that in the bud.
Yeah, I agree. So what happened in your journey after those experiences, that, like, how did you find healing or support that you needed that helped you, if you did?
Yeah, that's actually a really great caveat in the end there. If I did, and I didn't for a decade, like I was just like after I got out of the hospital in 2001, I was like, I'm done. I'm not ever going back to a place like that. That was insane. Can I use the
Hmm.
word insane? Is
Sure,
that
that's fine.
because
Filter free,
I
filter
was
free.
there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was insane. Like there was a lot of craziness that happened, and it wasn't until around 2012, 2011 where things started culminating again really bad. And I was like, okay, I gotta find a counselor. I'm not to go to the hospital, but I'll find a counselor. And I just happened to run across this perfect one for me where she taught dialectical behavior therapy,
Mm.
which I call social skills for dummies. And it really gave me all the things like I needed, I've ever wanted, like homework and how do I talk to somebody when I want to ask for something, which is there's a skill in DBT called Dear Man. How to get what you want from other people and ask for it. And I had gone through these classes with her, and it was transformative, but also she was really helpful in encouraging me to what I refer to in the book as utilize it, or YOU, how to make it my own. And every chapter in my book has a utilization section where it's like, okay, I give you all these great ideas, but it's all bullcrap if you don't know how to apply it to your life. So here's how you apply it to your life, and and
Mm.
and kind of take ownership of it yourself, and kind of twist my ideas to fit into your circumstance.
Hmm. That's amazing.
I have
And
no idea if I answered your question.
yeah, hey, it's your adventure, man. There's no right or wrong, of course. And I think DBT has so many amazing skills, and it helps so many. I always just think of it when I think of dialectical behavioral therapy is it helps people find a balance in chaos and dysfunction. I don't know if I froze. Did I lose you?
Between what is like the distinction between whatever, but it's talk about mindfulness. That's been huge in my life.
I think there was a little lag. Sorry. Could you repeat what you just shared?
Yeah, sorry, I was just talking about the idea of mindfulness and wise mind, and how that's been super significant in my life.
Could you tell me more about that?
Yeah, and I'm actually gonna move. Yeah, I have a tendency to operate from, and I'm just moving in my driveway here, so
Okay.
I'm not actually like doing some like weird driving. Um, I get really emotional when I have deep and dark thoughts. Like, and I have a hard time breaking out of that. And one of the things I deal with is like, how do in those situations, I feel like I'm always going to feel that way. I'm never going to be better.
Mhm. Right.
And when I'm feeling good, it's like I'm never going to be bad. Like I don't understand how I ever got there and how I could ever go back to feeling so suicidal and so negative about life and so much in despair. And what Wise Mind does is it just takes you to look at your situation, maybe reflect back on. I'm a big journaler, so reflecting back on journals, it says, okay, this is what the struggle looks like, and these are coping skills so that you can um, kind of relate to that you're not right now.
Right.
Um, and journaling has been such a huge part of that for me. And being in community like with NAMI and broken people, it's been really helpful to have that kind of support where people understand the struggle.
Right. And I think you bring up a really important point where when we're talking about emotional regulation and brain functioning, so many people when they haven't gotten the education, from therapy or from a medical provider, they think it's just them. They think that they're quote unquote crazy. They go
Yeah.
from one extreme to the other as if you're just flipping a light switch. And then with some people, kind of like what it sounds like what you're saying, you almost go through this amnesia of, oh, that pain was real, I was there, I'm good now, so I don't have to do anything to prevent the bad days from coming again, and then unfortunately the cycle takes over.
Yeah, I've never heard it described that way as an amnesia, but that's really right on, bro. That's pretty solid. So thanks for saying that. I'm
Sure,
gonna use
yeah,
that.
because it's so painful, because then when and I don't know about your experience, I know in my own or with people I've worked with is then when those you beat yourself up, right? Like when you're hit with that wave. I think of I use the analogy a lot when I think of depression. It's like being in the ocean and the undertow just pulls you under,
Hmm.
and it's so powerful, and you want to kind of just give up, but you just hold on to that little seaweed, that little hope, and hopefully
Yeah,
you get back to shore. But it's powerful.
yeah, and it's undertow is a great example because it's not easily seen from the surface, right? It's
Right.
always under that surface. Everything looks calm on top, but underneath there's that current kind of moving around pretty hardcore.
Yeah, and I think that's an important part too of if people can't see it, then they don't know what you're going through. And then
Yeah, or even believe it, right?
yeah,
Believe that
you look
you're going through
fine.
anything.
Look, you just
Yeah,
made a joke. How could you have depression? You made a joke.
yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, right.
And you're like, I'm literally dying inside. I made a joke just so my head doesn't explode.
Yeah, yeah,
and
man.
if you don't mind me asking, with these different experiences, have you, one of the things, especially when I have men on, have you seen any issues or stereotypes of being a man who talks about mental health and emotions?
You know, I haven't had like an interactive experience where somebody has come to me in a negative way and said something, stigma related. They wouldn't dare come to
Mhm.
me and say that because it would not turn out pretty for them. Um, I, I started this hyper, I guess I would use the word evangelistic movement towards helping people with mental health after the suicide of my best friend. And when that happened, I just didn't give a damn, bro. I'm just
Mhm.
like, I'm coming all out, and you better get out of my way. If you don't like what I have to say, or you don't believe what I'm gonna say, then you better just stand aside because I'm coming through with
Mhm.
a lot of broken pieces
Yes.
to help those people that feel broken, like my book's title, "Broken Like Me."
Right.
Um, and I, that has involved a lot of bucking against church culture, bucking against some of the mental health uh, cultures. I mean, even there's stigma within the mental health professional community and within within all areas. I think the only area I've really received that is from certain family members that are really old,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of have this I don't know, this 50s and 60s perception of mental health and how it's just bad decisions that you make, and you just can choose your way out of it or
Right,
pray your
like it's all
way out of it.
choice.
Yeah, yeah, and I get that a little bit from my aunt, but the more I just sit down with her and address her fears, and knowing that I'm somebody that deals with a real serious mental health disorder, like, and being willing on my part to have the conversation, to listen to her somewhat, I don't want to say ignorant biases, but I don't mean to sound so harsh, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really just ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then dealing with that in an honest and a really sincere way, I think has had a huge impact on and how she receives me as somebody that struggles with what I do, and really how she is beginning to see her own personal struggle with things like anxiety, and rather than hiding it under the veneer of a nice hairdo and
Mm-hmm.
beautiful puppies and a nice home, because we do that, right? We put on this veneer, this mask to kind of disengage or protect us from other people that we think can hurt us if they really knew the true us.
Right. It's interesting. You cover a lot of interesting points of people's different experiences, and I think a lot of it comes from fear too, because if we avoidance and fear, and if we pretend it's not there, then it's not there. Like, okay, there's a pink elephant in the room, but we're just gonna pretend it's not even there, even though it crushes us with all these different
Yeah.
issues. We're just gonna try to put it under the carpet. One of the things too that I see and I've experienced is, even being in the mental health fields, I'm still in awe of how many people still struggle when I express emotions.
Oh yeah.
And,
That
if they're
yeah.
positive emotions, great, fine, let's part, like, great, let's, but if I mention anxiety, anger, fear, any of that, it's almost like there's this cold chill in the room, and all of a sudden, like, the power differentiation comes in. It's like, oh, really, Patrick, really? And
Yeah. I
it's a
mean,
fascinating phenomenon.
yeah. I talk about this Americanism. I have a chapter in my book called "How Are You," and it's Americanism of just it's a greeting, right? And as somebody that deals with social anxiety, like, I have to discern when they ask that question, like, do they truly want to know how I'm doing, or is it just like a greeting? Well, I put that to the test one time at work, and a guy asked how I was doing. And I was like, well, I kind of feel like I want to die right now. Like, I have these suicidal thoughts, and the look, like, he just looked at me, turned around, and walked away. Didn't say a word.
Jesus. Not even,
And
hey, do you need a hug? Like, God.
no, no, and he's a great guy, but
Yeah.
it just, I at that point I was just like, I'm just gonna tell him.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to your fear comment if I can real quick, because I talk about how prejudice is birthed from pride. And I think that prejudice against people that deal with like mental health disorders, or like racial prejudice, or sexual orientation prejudice, whatever, these are all birthed from pride. But I think that if pride is the mother of these prejudices, then I think fear is the father.
Mm, that's interesting. Yeah. And people judge anyone who says they're afraid.
Oh yeah.
Even from like little kids to adults of, oh, be a big boy, be a big girl, or I thought I raised you better than that, or, well, I guess I don't have to deal with fear. It's like, are you shitting me? Like, I see it all the time.
Oh yeah.
And there's such a judgment on that, which I think, the last few years I'm seeing such a revolution and evolution in fighting the stigma of mental illness and mental health struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And I still see those pockets of resistance of even normalizing everyday emotions people struggle
Oh
with.
yeah. Yeah. And fear is a big one, right? I mean, you hear these things like, "Don't be afraid." Even the Bible says, "Fear not." And I'm like, well, that's not really possible. It's actually fear that makes courage such an amazing quality in people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really began to look at fear, things like fear and failure, as wonderful, wonderful gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, right on, bro.
Yeah. I know, and people, I see so much about people being afraid of failure, but I don't really know, I don't know how they define failure. It's like, does that mean you lost something or it didn't work out the way you wanted? Like there's some different, that's a whole other onion we could pull apart, I think, of that with
Yeah.
another stem of pride.
Yeah. And calling it an onion is a very apt description, because there's a lot of tears that come along with opening peeling that onion.
Right.
And yeah, so I don't I don't care if your listeners buy my book, okay? Like don't buy my book, but there is this part of my book where I define, in the very introduction, I define success, because I think it's really important for us to address that area of failure and success, um,
Excuse me.
in order to kind of deal with our own mental disability or our own feeling of brokenness. It may not be a disability or not, and if we're always trying to fit the bill of how success of what success means to other people around us, as opposed to what success actually means to me, then we're going to be constantly chasing this this rabbit or this dog that we're never going to catch. It's never going to happen, because
Right.
we're going to be constantly changing our view of success. So I kind of walk the reader through in the book, like, this is a way to define success for you, and then how do you use this as you kind of, as you get peer support, and as you do friendship, and as you deal with communicating with loved ones around you about how you're doing, and journaling. Those are the things I really address big time.
That's awesome.
That are
Now,
important to me, that really have saved my life. I didn't write a
yeah.
book and come up couple. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I cut you off. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What you were saying.
Yeah, I didn't write a book and come up with all these ideas to write a book. I had all these ideas that were keeping me alive for a decade, that really worked for me. And then when my friend died on January 25th, 2018, it's like, bam, I know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. I'm going to take these tools that I've used, and I'm going to put them in a book. I don't know. I'm not an author. I'm not a web designer. I'm not a born leader, but it's like, I got to do something. So
Right.
just making the decision that I'm going to do something, and looking fear, straight in the eye, and say, you're not gonna control me.
Right.
So I just did it, and I asked for
Well,
help.
so can you tell me a little bit more about the book and how and more of that birthing of this project?
Yeah, it's a really huge story. I'll show you a picture of the book for like your audience or whatever.
Okay.
So it's right here with me.
Awesome.
Um, Again, there's so many great books out there. You don't have to buy mine. There's so many wonderful books out there. So don't think that I'm just trying to, like, whatever.
Yeah, but can I
So
just
the way
say
this
though,
happened
the
is
the
really.
best books that I've ever read in my life are the
Uh,
ones where people are telling their story. Like
yeah,
even in grad school, like all the like you got to learn some of the the important stuff, but the ones that moved me, the ones that helped me heal as a person
yeah,
and be a good mental health provider are the ones where I learned from people's stories. So
yeah. Thanks for
it
that.
will be on my list.
Yeah, and in this book, like, one of the most surprising things when people read my book is this: it's funny. If I try to do anything with the book, it was just maintain my voice. Like, how do I sound in real life? That's how I want the book to sound. So, getting back into the story of the creation of the book, it goes back to 2016 when I sat down with this guy who's a doctor. He works with corporations in the state of Michigan, and in what's called organizational development. And I just started going back to college to get my bachelor's degree. And I was like, hey, I have a mental health disability. Um, and I've got all these things that I do, like how I journal, how I communicate on this mental health scale that I developed, and how a unique way that I do friendship. And so he was taking all these notes on a whiteboard while we were talking. And he said to me when we got to the end of our time, he's like, Joe, it really strikes me that you're just kind of waiting for a specific event in your life to kind of take all these tools that you have and push you in a specific direction. And I was like, I was really devastated because I really wanted him to mentor me, but he wasn't really
Mhm.
willing to do like all the work for free. So I'm like, oh, I guess I'll just wait for something to happen, because nothing ever happens in my life. And then on January 25th, 2018, when I got the call, I worked for FedEx and I was delivering up in kind of mid Michigan some packages in a rural town. And I heard that my friend had taken his life. This was his third attempt at suicide, and he was success. I use the word successful. It's not the one I want to use, but it's the only I can think of at the moment. When he completed it, it was like that conversation from 2 years earlier had come rushing back to me, and I don't think I've ever heard God so clearly as I did in that moment, saying, "This is what those tools are for. This is what you're going to do." So then, shortly after that, a couple months after that, I went into the hospital to get a biopsy for pneumonia on my. Well, they thought it was cancer, but it was pneumonia on my lung. They ended up puncturing my lung, so I had to stay in the hospital for a few days, and I began to write, just kind of from my bed, hooked up to oxygen.
Oh my gosh, that's
And
amazing.
yeah, and I just began to write, and it was awful. The writing was awful, but I just had to get all my ideas down. Wrote 100 pages, and for the last 3 years, it's been this journey of, you know, articulating it in a way that I would want to read, a book like that, and holding several meetings at my house with mental health professionals and peers, the people that struggle with mental health disabilities, just getting together and talking about the concepts I introduced, so to make sure that they're actually not going to hurt anybody. Like I don't want to make
Right,
situations worse for each other. So it's
right,
been this 3-year long journey of editing and soul searching, um, like really getting to know myself on a really deep level, and deciding, do I really want to put myself out there and my story out there in a way that in the way that's so vulnerable. And what I found, Patrick, is that by doing that, both with my organization Broken People and with the book, I'm not just telling people that they're not alone, like a lot of organizations will do or say, and I'm actually showing you through my story and through my vulnerability that, hey, you're not alone. These weird things that I do that I don't want to tell you about, like picking my scabs, or and to the point that they infect my arm, like right now, or like having trichotillomania, where I pull the hairs out of my face, or banging my head against the wall in the morning because I can't think of what else to do. Like mornings are my roughest time of the day. Like those are things that I do, and if I can somehow normalize them for you and expose them to the light, then maybe it's going to make your situation just a little bit better, and make
right,
you maybe make you not feel so alone.
right,
Because that's a big issue in itself, is this lonely feeling that exasperates this issue of mental health struggles.
right. And it shows, it's just kind of like that single candle in the darkness of I I'm not alone and there is hope. Because if someone else is experiencing this, then maybe, and they're doing okay and they're fighting, maybe there's more
Mhm.
hope for me than I knew.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people out there. If they feel anything like me, some of the things that you do, you think you're a freak. Some of the things that you like or you enjoy, you think you're a freak. And I'm
Right.
just trying to take the freak out of freak and just be like,
Right.
no, there's more normal to it than what you would think. There's just people just hide because they're
Right.
afraid.
Right. So what happened after you got out of the hospital?
Yes, try to keep this short, bro.
Hey, take your
Um,
time.
yeah, so I connected with this guy. His name is Clarkson Morgan. He works at a ministry here called Our Daily Bread, and they're a printing company, a publishing company. And the way I connected with him was unique. He's a customer of my wife at Starbucks, and he's like, I love the idea you have for a book. It sounds like really amazing, but if all you're going to do is write a book, then the impact you're going to have on the world is going to be really limited to those people that read your book. So I'm like, okay, well, what do you want me to do? He's like, you need to start a ministry. I'm like, hell no. There's so many ministries out there, and what we need is better people to manage the ministries we have to do good. So, but I didn't completely blow him off. Like, okay, I'll start a thing. Like, obviously, like I'm a person that loves God, and it's been a big part of my life. But I didn't want to pigeonhole myself in the community, which so many churches and Christians do, honestly, that only reaches people that are like me, in that respect. So,
In that same
um,
circle.
yeah, so I started Broken People because when I'm at my lowest point, when I feel the worst, it's broken. And I know that a lot of people might look at that organization and say, Broken People for Mental Health, that's kind of insulting. But what my intent is that there are people out there that feel broken, that are
Hmm.
looking for a community of other broken people. And when they search for broken people, they're going to find me, and they're going to find, I have a leadership team from all the country. We're in 43 countries around the world where
That's
we're
amazing.
encouraging people by with hope. And as a person that faith, the majority of people in my group have no faith. They don't. Well, they
Hmm.
have a variety of faith, or they have none at all. Um, and it's interesting, Patrick, because we have Democrats and Republicans, we have gay and straight and transgender, and we have men and women, black and white. And you know what? It doesn't seem like there's ever any fighting
Wow.
because we
You have
we
that
we, we say,
community.
yeah, because we build a community of understanding and trust, and sure, there's an opportunity for that, but I have a group of directors that are part of this organization that really do a good job at both weeding out the people that are there just to get attention, and the people that are actually to get help and to be a part of the helping story for other people, because that's what peer support is, right?
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that NAMI is so great at is creating that support within the community of the mentally ill, uh, to yeah, just the word community. So
Right. And I think, when I see that, it's interesting you bring up the word broken. Is I just saw a post in a mental health group of people aren't broken of this, and to me, as a mental health provider, and to someone who's gone through mental health issues too, but sometimes the word broken means it's going to break me free. So I think we need to develop what breaking is like, yeah, I feel broken, and something is going to come through that's going to be amazing, and it's okay.
yeah, yeah, I've heard somebody, there's this Japanese or Chinese, I'm sorry, the nationality, I'm probably butchering that, but of like a bowl that's broken, and they take gold,
Oh
and
yeah, I've
they
seen that.
yeah, and they bring it together, and how beautiful that is, and also broken things let light shine through.
Right.
um so the idea of, there's so many words associated with broken that negative, but don't forget there's positive associations with the word broken too, like broken record.
Hmm.
Like, hey, this guy broke a record, he did amazing things. And brokenness isn't all about being negative, it's about this vulnerability and the ability to be reshaped too. I truly think, um and this is just, me and my faith coming through, is that when I am broken, that who I believe to be God can really reshape me into a better person. But
Right.
it's not until I'm broken that I can be reshaped.
Right.
And I don't want to be this selfish asshole of a person that I have a tendency to be. Like, I do want to be reshaped into a person that truly loves how I think Jesus loves.
Right.
Um, and I think that's unconditional, and that's kind of person I want to be.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when, as you're talking about this, when I we didn't have a chance to talk about this before we started, but when I actually connected with you and then I saw the name of your book, the only image that I see of that is just this amazing mosaic of colors. Like, even though your book
Oh,
cover is white, all I see is just, and as you're explaining it and describing, 42 countries and all of these people from different backgrounds, it's just like such a beautiful collage of experiences.
yeah, man. It
It
it,
just,
it, bu- it bugs me to no end, the amount of hatred that people have for somebody that's different from them, and it really just comes from prejudice, which comes from pride and fear. It just bugs the crap out of me.
yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. So could you tell me a little bit more about like what Broken Like Me does? Like, what does the organization do?
Yeah, so the organization is Broken People, and it's funny because I started writing the book Broken Like Me, but then before I ever finished the book, I started, this Broken People organization, and what we do is, well, we have a couple meetings that happen around the country. We have one in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which meets in person. We have one in San Jacinto, California, that should start this month, from one of my directors there. And and then we have our online community where we just listen. Unlike a lot of Facebook groups, we're a private group, so we have a lot of, there's a safe place where people
Hmm.
don't think that their stuff isn't going to be shared around. But people come on there and they just share their shit, and we encourage, and every day one of my directors is going on there, consistently every couple hours or so, just posting, some kind of tool, some kind of encouragement, and then we invite people to come on and just share their shit, and then we'll be there to encourage them. And what that looks like sometimes is we had a friend. I had a friend in New Jersey, and she was a big part of helping me get my book together, who had a friend pass away. And so what we do is really, I think, spectacular, is call several churches and the county that she was in and help her figure out how the county helps pay for funerals for people that are homeless or don't
Oh
have
my
the
gosh,
resources,
that's
and to
amazing.
help her find a church to do the funeral. They didn't actually end up doing it because the extended family ended up jumping in and helping
Hmm.
to get the situation taken care of. But like, I'm not afraid to reach out and make a phone call to random people I've never met before to ask for help. We have a lady who lives near Berlin, Germany, who was a victim of assault. And so I was able to, through the internet, find this place in Berlin that helps people, the victims of assault, and then get her connected with them.
Oh my God,
Um,
that's incredible.
yeah, I mean, the internet's incredible, right? Like, you can
Yeah.
do a lot with it. I just don't think that a lot of people think to use it that way, and especially in like Facebook groups. Like, when I call a church, and this has happened several times, where people that might need food or clothing or help with their baby, and I start up the conversation. Well, I'm an admin of a Facebook group. There's always this really weird pause, and then because I have a website and I have a book, it adds some clout to it. But I'm not afraid to say, like, there's a person in your community that really needs help, and it's so easy to find phone numbers. It's so easy to reach out and help somebody, where you are, anywhere around the world. There's a guy from Pakistan in our group that you know he was a part. Like, I didn't help him anyway. He actually helped me. I was doing a book conversation in my home and trying to explain what broken people was. So he sent an audio clip explaining how it was encouraging to him with some of the struggles that he was dealing with as an educator in Pakistan, and some of the difficulties going along with the government and education system out there, and how broken people helped him. So it's all about relating. I talk about in the book how the root word of relationship is relate. And if you can't relate, if there can't be this equitability in relationships, then that ship part of the relationship is not going to float.
Hmm.
It's going to
I
be
love that.
like, if you're not willing to share with me and I'm not willing to share with you, like, how often have you had a friendship where the person is willing to listen to your crap but not really tell you anything? That doesn't feel like a relationship. That feels like therapy, you
Right.
know? Um, and which you do, but I don't want a friendship that's therapy. I want a friendship that
Right.
connects us, that relates.
Yes. Yep.
And um, I talk about creating boundaries around that and having authentic, not just equal relationships, but equitable, where you both have a stake in the game. And I'll stop now. Go ahead.
No, this is it's fascinating. I'm just really inspired and impressed of how you've taken your pain and your struggles and you're helping people around the world. It's really incredible.
Yeah, and it's not just me, bro. It's this how I talked about success earlier. It's we've done a good job in the community of broken people and with NAMI to support each other, and to lift each other up. And sometimes it becomes about there's sometimes can be a competitive attitude between different mental health organizations, or jealousy and envy between different people that are trying to do some awesome things. And like like telling your listeners right now, or don't buy my book, go check out nami.org.
Mm,
It's if my story, if my message has any value, then it'll help one person. But that's all I'm interested in. If I can just, if I maybe inspired you today, Patrick, in the slightest way, like, I'm done. Like,
mhm.
I've already helped probably many people, but I've heard specific stories where it's just like, I don't need to do another thing, man. I've impacted lives. Why do I need to do more?
Mhm.
And the book is going to be out there, and it's going to be doing more, and the broken people are still going to be out there, but it's not always going to be out there. So be faithful with what's right in front of you. And really, the only person right in front of me right now is you
Right.
and your listeners. So being vulnerable, being truthful, being honest, it goes a long way, man.
Mhm. Yeah, the authenticity. of here I am, raw, raw, good, bad, up and down, and let's just have this experience together. It makes it
Like your background. It's like, I know you're in the Bahamas, and
right.
it's
I
like it's so
mean,
authentic.
yeah. Like I'm just waiting. I'm going to a pig roast later. I mean, right. Well, if you don't mind me asking, could you tell me a little bit more? I'm familiar with NAMI, but I would love for my listeners to be able to talk about it because it's one of my favorite organizations in the world.
Yeah. So ask me a more specific question because there's a lot of information there, and I don't want to
So
like,
NAMI is the National Alliance of Mental Illness, and it's a
yeah,
not-for-profit organization. And
yeah,
I remember when I was in grad school, and we went to we did a field trip, and we met the at that time the director of the local NAMI chapter,
hmm
and she's since become a friend of mine, and she's one of the most formidable women I have ever met who would fight to get anyone anything that they needed because she believed in them.
right,
And that's when I learned what an advocate is. Of she would
yeah,
go and go into the politics and fight and go to rallies, and I just remember how incredible this organization was of helping people
right,
in need. So what is your connection with NAMI? Because you've mentioned it a few
sure,
times tonight.
sure. And what chapter is that there with you?
Adirondack. I don't actually know. Adirondack. I don't.
Yeah,
How are they
put it.
broken up?
Yeah, so mine is by county, but I don't think they're always by county. I know I'm connected with this NAMI CC out there. You're California, right? Or no, you're in New York.
No, I'm in New York.
Yeah, so I'm doing training with a New York NAMI this coming week,
Oh
um,
wow.
virtually. So I just happened across their Facebook page, and I'm excited to get some training from a different NAMI. So that's what's great about NAMI right now is they're doing a lot of things virtually, so you can get a lot of training. So let me go into NAMI. You stop me, please
Right.
interrupt me
And I
when I
just
talk
looked it
to you.
up real quick. It's in for my correction. Sorry, Nami. It's Champlain Valley Nami.
Okay, I don't know if I'm a member of or on connected with them yet, but I will be because
Okay.
you said it. So I'm part of NAMI Kent County. So I got connected with NAMI because there's another organization here that works with mental health that's doing fantastic things, but it was really like it kind of seemed like they were more like a capitalistic form of way of doing things, and trying to make money, which they have to do, right? You got to make money to support a business, and but they were charging with for everything. So I just started researching, mental health organizations, and NAMI popped up, and I'm like, I've never heard of that. That's really weird. And then to come to find out that this amazing organization that's the largest in the country, but is so seldom recognized for the work that they do.
Mhm.
So here's the spitball version of NAMI. Everything they do is free.
Mhm.
They offer what I'm involved with is the peer-to-peer support, which is just weekly. No, sorry, sometimes weekly. It depends on the NAMI that you're a part of, the affiliate that you're a part of. But we do bi-weekly meetings where peers come together via Zoom and just kind of talk about our situation. It's a really structured time, and the structure was established through like a lot of research. And NAMI is big on research. A lot of the statistics you'll find when you go online are things that have been funded by NAMI, which is, I say everything they do is free, but it all costs money. So they get donations through here in Michigan through a lot of like the walks, and Starbucks is really a big force for NAMI here in West Michigan, um, raising money. But then they have this really cool group called Family to Family, and I'm a presenter for them, but I don't
Mhm.
do the classes. And what Family to Family is, which is tremendous, please check this out, is if you have a loved one that deals with a mental health disorder, um, it can be sometimes, and I say sometimes when I really mean all the time, complicated to know how to like live in the space with them.
Mhm.
So there are healthy ways of living, unhealthy things that you can do that can be enabling to a person with a severe mental health disability. Um, and there are things that can be like harmful and painful, and things that you say and you don't even understand the struggle of somebody with a mental health. My wife, for example, she gets angry because she's afraid and she doesn't know what to do.
Mhm.
So what family does is it's a literal class where you get a binder. It's a 4-inch binder with a ton of information. Again, free.
Mhm.
Okay, that's cool. I think it's like an
Yeah.
8-week course, and they tell you like how do you like first they talk about different diagnoses and what it means and how do you be a healthy support in that person's life. And it really just it gives you the tools to help you function with boundaries and function in a way that's healthy for you as somebody that may not deal with a mental health disability, but live with someone that does. In my situation, I have a mental health disability, a pretty severe one, a major depressive disorder and an anxiety disorder. But I also live with children that have a very serious mental health disorder. So I would go to peer-to-peer classes and also be eligible to go to family and family because I live with somebody. And
Mhm.
I oftentimes, just because I have a mental health disorder, doesn't mean I always know what to do with
Right.
somebody
Especially
with
as a
with
parent, it's another skill set.
yeah. I mean, I got holes in my wall right now, but from my son that just doesn't know how to deal with his anger and so I'm a really big fan of like connecting and broken people in NAMI here in West Michigan and really connected well. There's no competitiveness. I'm supporting them. They have been supporting me like crazy. It's a mission to save lives, and
Mhm.
I don't think there needs to be competition. I think there's enough resources to go around to really make a difference in just one life, which is what my angle is.
Mhm.
I'm just another guy just trying to do another thing to help one more person, just like
Mhm.
you are, man. That's what you're doing with
Right.
your therapy and having this podcast. It's a tremendous leap of faith, right?
Right.
So kudos, right?
Thanks. Thank you. And the one thing too
Wait,
that I
Sloppy wants to say something.
oh, hi, stop it.
Yep.
Yay. It's like exciting.
I thought Sloppy wanted to say something, but he's silent. Okay, good. Sorry.
Like you're gonna have to like create something where you take a picture of them wherever you go. It's got to be a thing. I have a vision. I'll send you some idea.
All right,
um,
man.
one of the things that I've seen too, like with NAMI, what I love is sometimes, like for example, I'm in private practice, so I have just limited resources of what I can do and what I can offer. And what's so incredible about NAMI
Right.
is that they have an amazing um, resource of education, of support groups, of like you're saying, of advocacy. So even if you may not be struggling with addiction or mental health, but your loved one is,
Mm-hmm.
that's just as scary. Like you're saying, I don't know how to support them. I don't know how to be safe. I don't know boundaries. I see it a lot
Yeah.
of times when there's a loved one who's struggling with someone who has a mental illness of how do I know how to have boundaries if am I turning my back on them?
Yeah. And the really cool thing about NAMI too is like if let's say that you're in New York and you got a person in Ohio that is your brother that's struggling, well, more than likely NAMI's there,
Hmm.
in that state where they, you can reach out to somebody there. They're all over. So
Yeah, that's incredible. So what is it, if you don't mind me asking, what is it like for your family doing the work that you do?
ooh, man, yo. Okay, I'll try to keep this short. My wife, I've been with FedEx for 24 years. And my wife was, as soon as she got her own Starbucks store, she's like, go part time,
Oh,
and start doing this book thing, start talking to people. And, I think this is like my 18th podcast and I've done them from all over the world.
yay!
Um, and they just keep getting better and better. This is my first New York podcast, so dope.
Yay!
Um,
Represented in New York.
yeah, NYC. Um, they're insanely, and again I use that word because I can because I have the medication to prove it. It's insanely supportive. So just to give you an example, my daughter Hannah, she's 21, um, knew that this would be a big year for my book. So for Christmas of 2020, um, she gets me this gift, and it's always usually a meaningful gift, and it was a calendar of turtles. and I like turtles. We probably won't get enough time to talk about turtles here, but it is a
Next
thing.
time. Next time.
Next interview. Well, I open up the gift and I see this calendar. I'm like, wow, this is the cheapest gift she's ever gotten for me. Like, what's up with this? Then I open it up, and there's a name or there's a country uh, on every single day of the year. And what it is she had contacted for the last 3 months before Christmas people that would be willing to pray and fast for broken people and for what I'm trying to do with my book.
Oh my
So
God.
every day of the year, there is somebody praying and literally not eating to pray for this work that I'm trying to do. And not just some people, but there are churches in Malawi that the whole church is fasting for me for an entire day. There was a day last week where a church in Mozambique, which is just outside of Malawi, where they were praying. And I have connections with people in Africa because I traveled different places
Right.
all over the world, and they heard about what I wanted to do, and this church wanted to support it. And yeah, there's like 5 or 6 different churches in Malawi, throughout Central Africa, and then believe one in South Africa. And it's just weird to think that every single day that somebody's committed to. Well, then my daughter even was so passionate about,
Right. Like
and
it took
so
my breath away. It
intentional.
gave me chills when you just said that. Like,
Yeah, and it's
wow,
sitting on
that
my
is
wall.
love.
I wake up in the middle, in the morning, and I look to my right, and there's this calendar, and I know that person that day is praying for me, and praying, not just praying for me, but praying for everybody that's
Right.
associated with broken people, and she had no idea. There was no idea that I was going to be able to go part time in February. That my wife was going to go to a Starbucks store. That I was going to be connected with a group of mentors that would really cause my book to take off. It's been a bestseller on Amazon.
That's amazing.
That
Congratulations.
thanks. That I was going to be able to have that kind of, but I do think that it wasn't that she didn't know it was going to happen, but I think it was a result. It was a cause and effect. Like I do think that, and this is just my personal, no knocking anybody that doesn't think this, but that God is an active force in my life, and
Hmm.
not just for my benefit. It's not about like God just wants to take care. Like, I don't think that. I mean, God does some pretty crappy stuff in the Old Testament that I don't really like, but who knows? Just like I do see something there, and I'm a man that walks by faith, but also has doubt. So what it is, what it is.
Wow, that is amazing that what a beautiful, beautiful gift.
Yeah, and my family's they're just all about it. My having my son who dropped out of high school and who is really struggling with anxiety disorder, social disorder, uh, to find out that his friends went on and bought my book on Amazon and then are telling their friends to buy my book. These people I've never met, who are from a way different background than I am.
Right.
It's just like wow,
And a whole different
that
generation you're reaching too.
I didn't mean it. Like I was like, I'm gonna connect with 40-year-old women. That that's who I thought I was gonna connect with. And I got,
Right.
just people from like kids, that are connecting with my story. It's such an easy read. Like, again, it's like talking to me. It's the stories are fun. It's surprising how funny the book is. I don't think it's funny, but other people think it's funny. Um, but it also can be triggering too. Like, I'm really open, so
Hmm.
careful with that.
Right. Sounds like a really good book club book.
It could be. I don't know. My wife would probably plug it, but I think it's decent.
That's really exciting. So what are your plans now? What are your aspirations for the rest of this year?
Oh, thanks. That's a great question. I actually had an interview with a Miss America 2 weeks ago from 1990, and she asked me the same question.
Ooh,
And it was really cool sitting with a lady that used to be Miss America.
yeah, that's
And she
amazing.
and it was intimidating. Like, and the connection was kind of funny, how that happened. But she asked me the same question, and I kind of knocked her off her seat a little bit with that. And I hope to do the same for you. Is I don't have any plans.
Right.
Like, I don't have a vision for the future. Like, all I know is I'm sitting down here with you, Patrick,
Hmm.
and there's some people listening, and I'm just gonna try to love you the best I can, like who's in front of me,
Right.
and knowing that tomorrow my book may stop selling,
Right.
and that broken people may have people that just don't show up anymore, and I got to be okay with that. Like,
Right.
I got to be content with, wow, I'm just so grateful to have the experience that I have right now, to be on the show with you, for you to have like an ounce of interest in me. Like I just take that for what it is. It's awesome. And if tomorrow you forget about me, like at least we had today, bro.
Right.
And I hope that you are inspired by something,
Oh,
that
totally.
something.
Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
I'm really
And
moved by this conversation. So I really appreciate that it worked out that you were able to come on tonight.
yeah. And I gotta tell you, I'm honored. I'm honored to yeah, have this conversation with you.
Well,
So thanks for
and
the work
it's
you're doing
also
in therapy.
yeah. And I'm just thinking also as you're saying this is it's also you're living the DBT skills, you're living the mindfulness, you're living the
Oh
balance
yeah,
of today is the gift. It's what I have.
yeah. The mindfulness is a huge thing. I got the binder with probably 180 sheets of paper with all the different skills and all that I refer to back on a weekly basis because I forget,
Yeah.
and
And the world's
I
chaotic
get
and sometimes
overwhelmed.
we need that reminder of how to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty chaotic, bro, for sure.
So if people want to connect with you, what is the best way for them to be able to do that?
Yeah, so probably the easiest way is my website, www.broken-people.org. You can look me up I have a bio on Amazon if you go for the Broken Like Me, and then Google my name, Joseph Reid. I even get my email address, joe@broken-people.org. I'm just an open book. There's nothing fancy or complicated to me or my story. I just will love you, and I'd love to get you connected, and I'm sure that Patrick, you can get people connected in your audience with NAMI as
Yep,
well. And
absolutely.
yeah, sometimes there feels like there's competition, right? Like I want to do well,
Right,
but we have to push back against that, and that's what I do. I push back
right.
against that idea of like, oh, I want to be a millionaire and sell a million books and drive a Nissan Cube, because that's my favorite car, a Nissan Cube. It's not impressive, but man, I like it. I don't have one
I've
though.
never been in one. I'll have to add it to my list. I'll check it out.
It's a weird one. My wife
Okay.
hates it, but
So as we, I hope you're part of the Friday night family now. So I hope you definitely come back to Friday Night Feels in the future. You're part of the group now. So I really appreciate you taking this time and share your story with me and everyone who's listening and who will listen. Um, and before we end tonight, I just have one final question for you. What is one thing that you would want listeners to walk away from this conversation?
who get a stuffed reindeer. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
you know, Here's the thing. Like I got my Beaker shirt on.
Ooh,
Um,
Beaker.
I've got my reindeer, and there's so much. I'm a 45-year-old guy that snuggles a stuffed reindeer, and I think that you know, going back to the issue of success, we try to be this person around other people that other people would like. When I think we would find much more content and happiness just being the person that we are. But I know it's hard and it's complicated to find out who you are. Like I have a section in my book that talks about, who am I and how do I find out how I like myself, or how do I even find out like what I even like? I mean, that was a
Mhm,
big journey for me. Like, what
mhm.
do I even like? But the more you're honest with yourself in journaling and journaling and even living a journal lifestyle with self-reflection, and realizing that there are specific things that you can look at and enjoy and find contentment. Like right now, dude, I'm looking at this sign. I'm on my driveway. It says odd dates parking November 1st through April 1st, and I just like, dude, it's got a green background. I look at it, it's nothing special, but I'm like, it's really cool. And
Mhm.
to be able to look around you and see the beautiful things around you and acknowledge that you in your unique mind that are perceiving something that you perceive uniquely at this moment as beautiful and precious, whether it be that you like stuffed animals, you like the color yellow or the smell of gasoline, or even if you like the smell of your own farts. Like it's like there are things that about you that
Like
maybe
comfort.
are that bring comfort. To like my favorite drink. I go to the bar with my wife and I always order a chocolate milk. And the expression I get from ordering a chocolate milk is priceless.
Right.
But I really like chocolate milk,
Right.
But stop pretending to be something you're not.
Right.
Really spend some time, looking around your environment, looking around your world, and identifying and acknowledging the things that you think are beautiful and fun. And the more honest you are about those things, then the more real you are able to be with the people that you love. And you'll probably find yourself shedding some people because they won't accept you for who you are, but you'll be happier for it.
Right.
You'll find yourself connecting with people that really resonate, that the things that you value resonates with them. And
Right.
and that I talk about in 130 pages of my book the importance and the unique way that I do friendship. And I kind of walk the reader through, like, how do you do that yourself? And it starts with, realizing the best friend that you never knew you had, which is yourself.
Yeah.
How do you getting to learn to love yourself and like yourself, and it's a complicated process, but
Right.
one that I've been walked through, and I really hope that my journey, my book, or Broken People, or NAMI will help walk you through as well.
Right. Thank you so much, Joe. That was really beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on Friday Night Feels. Everyone, I'm sure, will be inspired just as much as I am. Thank you, Sloppy, for joining us.
Yeah,
Cute as can
happy to
be.
be here.
And I hope everyone has a beautiful week and a beautiful weekend, and stay safe out there. I'll see you soon. Take care.
Deuces.